Enjoy today's Reddit story with Mr. GreatStory. Girls of Reddit, what is the creepiest thing a man has said to you in public? I was young, probably like 19. I went into a gas station to pay, and the clerk said to me, "Look at you dressed like a little slut." I was in a skirt and shirt. I was really shocked, and the only one in the store. When I didn't say anything back, he said, "You get off turning men on, don't you?" I got so scared. I also lacked the confidence back then to shut it down. Thank God someone else walked in, and the clerk gave me back my change and I went on my way. Oh, and once when I was a teen, I was waiting for my mom at a store. I decided to swing my bare feet out the window and lay back and nap. All of a sudden I felt someone tickling my feet. It was a old man. So creepy. Oh no, when I was 13, a guy grabbed me by the wrist and he said, "Hey sexy, wanna come with me so I can show you something? I love bad girls like you." I was so stupid that I was still worried about being rude and apologized to him for saying no, but when he tried to fully grab my arm, I just ran. I was 11 in a street market in Italy. A vendor came up and started trying to convince me to marry his son. My dad ran up and was like, "Dude, she's 11. The guy said, "My son's only 26. It's perfect. You don't look 13. I want your number." I was once stalked by a man who worked in the store that was next to mine, and he had told me that he made his Skyrim character to look like me. I was in Paris at a Christmas market and a guy came up to me and told me I was very beautiful. Before I could say anything back, he said, "You know, I've been following you for a while and saw your friends walk away from you. I could kidnap you so quick, they would never see you again." Then he laughs, and my friend, who was only like 8 feet away and heard this exchange, pulls my arm and we start fast walking away. We cut down so many alleys, popped in and out of shops, and got on different trains, since it was nearly impossible to know if he was still following us. There were 3 of us, and while we really have no idea if he had actually been following us for a while, we assume he had been around long enough to know we spoke English, since he didn't approach me speaking French. This was a guy who had found my Facebook in about half a second. I have no idea how people I want to give it to can't find it without my help. So how does sex work for you? Does it hurt you? How do you do it? He'd found out I was disabled and decided this was an excellent and appropriate conversation piece. I was wearing my horseback riding clothes. He held the door for me and said, "You can ride me." When I kept walking into the store ignoring him, he screamed after me, "Hey bitch. I said you could ride me. This is why we can't have nice things, people." I was in Walmart and some creepy guy came up to me and my sister and pointed at his junk in sweatpants, clearly not wearing underwear, and asked if we wanted to touch it. Now I refused to go to Walmart. Man in club came up to me and said, "Just thought I should let you know that you have great birthing hips." I worked at a truck stop and needed a driver to sign something, but didn't have a pen. He was a super gross old fat guy, missing quite a bit of teeth. He said that I could borrow his pen, but then I'd have to get in his truck with him. He was going to lock the doors and I wasn't allowed to get out. I recoiled in horror as he gave me the most disturbing smile. The thought of raping me and telling me about the fantasy truly made his day. I got followed through Walmart and the guy kept passing by me, and every time he would whisper, "God, you re so beautiful. I love you. Edit, spelling. Edit 2. He followed me to check out and circled the parking lot to see what car I got in. I flashed my gun while loading my groceries and then he left. I went a different way home and was so paranoid of being followed, but I wasn't. I was also 20 weeks pregnant. Scariest moment of my life. I was 14, out shopping at an Aeropostale when these 2 dudes approached me. They had to be in their mid to late 20s. They followed me around the store and kept asking me to try on the mini skirt I had picked out, asked me where I lived, my name, and just generally kept following and harassing me. I was super freaked out, hoping that my mom and brother would come back to the store soon to get me out of there. Something very similar happened to my then 13-year-old daughter and her friend at an H&M. They called me crying and begging me to get them from the mall early. When I got there, they said he'd been in his car just watching them as they waited for me to pull up, but had driven away. As soon as I got there, I did my best to make sure no cars were following us home. The idea that he might be following us and end up knowing where they live scared the hell out of me. Edit for clarity. And since this kinda blew up, the guy followed them around the store. As soon as they called me, he disappeared, so they went to wait outside. That's when they noticed he was sitting in a parked car with a direct Lowe's to the benches they were waiting on. Having the "when this happens again" conversation instead of an "if this happens again" with them broke my heart. But, as a parent, it's stupid to be anything but pragmatic about the very shared experiences of women in our world. Screaming across the parking lot as I get into my car, "You'd be lucky if I raped you. Bitches love me." I peeled out as fast as I could. Ugh, reminds me of when a man followed me to my car after work telling me about all the disgusting things he was going to do to me. Broke into a run to get to my car. Cried the whole way home. Not so much what was said at first, but the insistence and continuing to walk with me on my route for like 20 minutes that I must save his email address. Words alone are creepy on occasion, but it's the absolute worst when there's an element of being trapped. A homeless guy once told me he wanted to throw me in a bathtub full of jello and make love to me. Edit. I laughed really hard when this happened. Who knew I'd get so much mileage out of it 20 years later? Merry Christmas, baby, while grabbing my ass in Times Square. It was summer. Thanks for the silver razzmatazz. Had an older man ask me to stir his mixed drink with my finger to make it sweeter. This was at a fancy Irish dinner party my family attended. I was 13. This guy was around 50. He went on to make a joke about me eating a sucker. Later on, something about blowing pop. It still makes me nauseous after 20 years. You're gonna get spanking in a sing-song tone. I was working at a mom and pop burger joint and made a silly mistake. I was 19 at the time. The dude in question was 60 over 70. When I got embarrassed, he acted proud of himself and stated, "Look how red she's turning." I had rainbow colored hair as a teenager. One time at work, a 60-plus-year-old customer said to me, "Does the carpet match the drapes?" Never mind, you probably don't have any down there. I've never been so uncomfortable. While I was cutting a man's hair at beauty school, he told me to keep talking because it excites him a lot and proceeded to show me his mini-me. "When you're 18 I'm going to take you to Europe," said my grade 8 teacher. In a similar vein, my year 6 teacher's husband, upon meeting me again at 14, showed me cruise tickets he bought and said I could go with him if I promised to not tell my mum and his wife. I immediately told my mum, and she immediately told his wife. At the local bar, there's a little old man, like 70, who goes and gets a bouquet of roses and gives them out to all the young girls. It seems really sweet, unless you happen to hear what he's saying. One time he told me that he wonders what my pussy smells like. I don't go to that bar anymore. You don't get a view like that every day. I was 10 and bending down to get something off a lower shelf at the grocery store. I was wearing a new lower cut shirt, but forgot to wear my training bra that day. The guy was the mid-40s probably. His wife was with him. She looked like she was about to cry. I never wore that shirt again. Edit. Wow, this blew up while I was away. For those saying it's not possible for my chest to develop that quickly / my parents shouldn't have let me out in that shirt. The shirt was from Limited Too. My breasts weren't actually that developed, hence training bra. This guy was just a pervert. I did tell my dad after we left the store. He told me what the guy did was sick and wrong, and that next time something like that happened, tell him immediately. I was working, doing the whole "how are you" bit to a customer. He said, if I was any better I'd be twins. Normal so far. And they'd be female. And hot like you. Sir, do you mean to tell me you'd want to bang your twin sister? This old man, probably 60 something, told me I looked exactly like his favorite porn star. When I was around 13 I was walking in the mall. This older man, came up to me and started saying, "You are so pretty, you should be a model. I have a camera in my van. Come with me so I can take your picture." I, being raised to be skeptical, just giggled and did not follow him. Eventually he became angry and shouted, "Damn it, I am not going to hurt you." People started staring, so he walked off. Never told my mom. I was chillin' with this dude at a party-ish thing while deployed once. I'd mentioned a few times that I had a girlfriend back home, and he seemed cool, and we had a lot in common, so we were fast buddies. Until about 4 AM or so, when we're all sitting by a fire, and he asked if he could hug me. Drunkenly, I was like, okay, whatever. But then he asked if he could kiss me. And I was like, nah dude, I have a girlfriend. I'm gay as hell, you know that, haha. And his face went really cold, and he said, until I catch you walking back to your dorm alone later. I honestly cold cried, I was so scared. Thank fuck a group of dudes I recognized walked past a few minutes later to go get early morning French toast at the chow hall, so I tagged along fast as I could. Never saw that dude again. I was wearing a Marshall Lee the Vampire King shirt. One old dude told me that he liked my shirt. I said thanks. He then says he likes it because it makes him think about me biting him. I was shocked. I said nothing. Luckily my friend clapped back and was like, fuck off bro, your wife doesn't even wanna bite you lol. Glad I had someone there with me. I was waiting for an Uber home from a theater in Boston after rehearsal one night. It was after 11 PM. This black car that matches the make and model on the app rolls up, stops by the curb, and rolls down the window. The guy inside asks if I'm waiting for Uber. I say yes and ask his name to see if it matches. He says, I'm Uber, get in. At this point, I'm creeped out, alone on a street corner close to midnight. I refuse and he says, I'll give you $300 if you get in this car right now. We are going to a party. At that point, I turned around and booked it back into the theater. Absolutely not getting kidnapped today, folks. Check your plates before you take your UV. I had a 65 plus coworker who was simply disgusting. Poor hygiene, raggedy ass greasy beard. I told me he had a Viagra in his lunchbox and that he'd pay for a room after work so I could ride him all evening. I told him no thanks. I went immediately and told our supervisor, who literally laughed and said, well, you know he didn't mean it, you're not even hot. Said I would make a good wife for someone like him while staring at my chest in front of his wife. I was at work and this guy later flat out asked me to marry him. I was 17 at the time. I wanted to die. Edit. Yes, I'm a woman. No, I didn't marry him. You're damn disgusting too for asking that. I also didn't expect this to blow up. Thank you for watching. Tell me which one was your favorite. Like, subscribe and hit that notification bell for more. The next video will be even more interesting. You are a legend.